Okay, welcome. So today is our Relax into Health, Wealth, and Happiness meeting. And let's start by taking a look at the situation that we find ourselves in, because it's important that we understand where we are and then also what our aim is. So where we find ourselves is, and who this meeting is for anybody who finds, who's honest enough to recognize that you're dissatisfied with what it is that has dictated your life and dominated your life up to now. So the beliefs, the habits, the identification, all of this you're dissatisfied with. And so then what's required is that we need to be willing to let go of what we've been clinging to so that we can open ourselves to something greater than that. And that is the possibility. That is what is available to every single human. Every single person has that opportunity to let go of what is no longer, well, not even no longer, to let go of what is untrue, to let go of what is false, to let go of what is limiting, to let go of the suffering and the misery, and to open to something new and greater. And the difficulty that we have is that we don't yet see it. We don't yet really fully know that it is true, that there actually is something greater. So we're hesitant to let go of the scraps that we have because we don't know that there is a banquet laid out before us. And so the first step really is that we have to tell the truth that no matter what, no matter how we rearrange things, no matter what we might learn at we'll call it the worldly level, it won't really ultimately give us the satisfaction that we want. Not even that we want, but that is absolutely essential, because we have to take a look and see that the purpose of my life cannot possibly be fulfilled if I just continue along the same way that I have up to now. And so this is really, really important, because otherwise, as I said, we will just continue to cling to the things that are false and that are limiting, the things that we've accepted as the best that we can get, because it's the best that the world has to offer. And that's all born out of ignorance. It's, as I say, there is a banquet laid out before us, but we're blind to it. We don't recognize it. And so, and the blinders that we have that are preventing us from seeing it are the things that we're clinging to. So this is not all that novel, right? I mean, this is sort of like Buddhism 101, that suffering is the the clinging. It's our attachment. It's our identification with what's false. And so the very first and most essential step is to recognize that it won't possibly satisfy me, no matter how much money I get, no matter how perfect my health may be, no matter how fit I become, no matter how attractive I might be, no matter how much worldly knowledge I might acquire. None of that can possibly give me the satisfaction that I'm here for. And so you have to search your heart and see the truth of that, because otherwise you won't take the bold steps required in order to really let go of those scraps and to step into what is available to you. And you have to be really clear on this point, that if you continue to cling to those scraps, then you will remain blind and you will not accept what is your birthright. So that's the tragedy of most human lives, is that most humans will go through their entire lifetime clinging to scraps, and they'll never discover the true satisfaction that is their birthright, because it's who they are, it's who you are. So now that might seem a little contradictory. How can we, if what it is that's available to us, this banquet that's available, is who we are, how could we be blind to who we are? That doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, surely I know who I am, but this is ignorance. You don't know who you are, because if you really know who you are, then you won't cling to the false. It becomes absolutely clear that it is only painful to cling to what is false, or we could say what is transient. False sort of sounds as a little loaded of a term, sounds negative. It's not unskillful to perceive it that way or to use that term, because it can light a fire under us to get us to take action, to actually look and see sincerely what's really going on. But we can also understand it simply as what's transitory. So the nature of this world is that it is transitory. Nothing stays the same. Even in a more fundamental sense, we can see that nothing even ever comes into form, really. Form is an appearance only, but the actuality of it never really takes the shape, as it were. It is an illusion in that sense. So really, we're clinging to illusion. We're clinging to what is transitory. We're clinging to what will never satisfy. So remember that these meetings are interactive. You have to participate actively in order to really receive the benefits. So I'm inviting you to take a look and see the truth of this for yourself now. So please do. Please look and search your heart right now and see, is there anything, because you're holding out something. We all do, every single one of us, we're holding out something that we think, well, but maybe that. And we're afraid to let it go. And we're afraid that there's nothing better than those scraps that we have. So just please take a look right now and see, is there anything that you are afraid that if you let go of that, that you will somehow suffer, that somehow you will be in a worse position by letting go of the clinging or attachment to something in your life, whatever that may be. So maybe relationships, maybe money, material security, maybe your job or career, and maybe some kind of knowledge that you have or that you think you have. Could be some kind of identification with a particular subculture or group or philosophy or ideology. And we have to see that all of these things may be wonderful, they may be useful, they may be skillful means. But so please understand, I'm not saying that you must, I'm not suggesting any kind of extreme here. I'm not saying go out and stop eating, and neither am I saying that you must stop adhering so long as it's useful to you to a particular way of eating. All those neither one needs to be. The action itself is secondary. It's the attachment. See, so we want to just see, is there an attachment? Because the attachment, the identification with, the clinging to, and the anxiety and fear over losing it or deviating from it, that's what we want to recognize. Because so long as that remains, then it's toxic no matter what it is. And you can look in your life and see the truth of that. Whatever it is, if you cling to it, if you pin your salvation on anything of this world that is transitory, which is to say anything of this world, anything, all of the things that I mentioned and anything else, the body, the thoughts, the mind, the senses, relationships, all material possessions and so forth, all of that is transitory. That's its nature. So again, this is not to say that you should deny any of it or deny yourself any of it. This is not to say that you should not enjoy the nice days and that you should not enjoy the nice moments in the pleasant relationships. It's not to say you shouldn't enjoy your life. It's not even to say that you should have no ambition in this life. This is not about becoming a renunciate. That's really important, because the renunciate path is not for us. And blessedly, it doesn't need to be. And in fact, and here's a surprising fact, actually, we're better off we're better off than the renunciates. Remember, that's surprising. So if that seems surprising to you, then let it be. There's no mistake about your life and where you find yourself right now and the circumstances of your life, because they are absolutely perfect. They are the absolute perfect circumstances for the fulfillment of the purpose of your life, which is to wake up. It's to know who you are and to put everything in. You want to be all in with that, to be 100%, 200% in with who you are, this higher reality which has laid out this banquet for you. But as long, coming back to what I had said earlier, as long as we're clinging to the scraps, we're using those as blinders and we can't see what it is that is laid out before us. And it is such good news what's here. It's the best news, because it is freedom, it is happiness, it is satisfaction, it is peace. And all of this is available right now. Now, that sets perhaps we have to clarify that, because you might have the wrong expectation. Then you might think, oh, well then, in a split second, I should have the experience that I think is the experience of freedom, or that I think is the experience of peace, or that I think is the experience of whatever else. But here is a very, very important principle, which is that when your focus is on the material or the transient, the things of this world, when you place your attention and your focus and you pin your hopes on all of that, then you're setting yourself up for misery and only misery, because you'll be miserable when you're attempting to achieve it and grasp it, and you'll be miserable once you grasp it, and you'll be miserable once it leaves you. And so don't make that mistake. Instead, and this is the principle, our attention should be 100% on ourselves. Now, when I say ourselves, I'm not talking about the personality or the ego or the thoughts or the whimsical desires or anything like that. Although I'm not saying you should deny or ignore them, but rather it is to see all of that truthfully as it comes and goes, because remember, it's all transient, with an anchoring in the recognition. Even if it's just a dim recognition, it's okay, because we have to start where we are. And dim recognition is better than no recognition. So even a dim recognition of who you are as the non-transient eternal self. Okay. So we must begin to and have a sustained commitment to the true self, to the eternal self, to the non-transient self, which is, we can give that any number of names. It doesn't matter what name we give it, but I use the term awareness because it seems to most accurately point to what it is that's being described, because it's not something that can be objectified, really. I mean, of course, the mind will objectify anything, but the truth of what's being pointed to can't rightly be understood as an object. Awareness is not an object. Awareness is simply what is here in the absence of everything else, or even as everything else comes and goes. Now, this is all well and good, but then you might be thinking, okay, but I've heard this before and it doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to do any good. Okay, so now we're getting into the meat of it, because this is the practical application. So everything here has to be practical. If it's not practical, it's not, then forget about it. This shouldn't be a philosophical or a religious or a abstract thing. It must be 100% practical. It has to be lived. And when you understand what's being pointed to, then you can live it. It's not, this isn't Remember, this is not the renunciate path. This is not for a select special few who go to the mountaintops. That mountaintop exists within you. You exist as the mountaintop. That is a higher perspective. It's the perspective from which you can see that everything is coming and going, but you remain. This is essential. And most people stop short of there. And we need to see why we stop short of there. This is why, this is the practical application, to see why you stop short. So when you look at your life, okay, you just see today, even just in the past hour, look and see how many times have you stopped short of the mountaintop within yourself, that peak of formless awareness that remains forever untouched by the comings and goings of the world below. I want you to really look and see, because it's really important. Remember, this is practical, so don't skip it, because this is like a practice run. I want you to see this so that you can gain skill in this very important fundamental practice, because you want to actually be applying this all the time. Well, now that seems like a lot to ask, because, right, you're asleep 99.9% of the time. So I'm saying you must be awake 100% of the time. And you say, well, I'll never get there. Well, how do you get there? Remember, the journey of 10,000 miles begins with a single step. And then I like to add to that you must continue to take the steps. So if you're asleep 100% of the time, or 99.9% of the time, well, now you might say you're not, you might say you're awake, but I assure you, you're incorrect. So you have to be willing to understand and just accept what's being said, that you are asleep 100% or 99.9% of the time. So don't argue with that, don't reject that, and don't accept yourself and say, oh, I'm special, I'm really awake all the time. No, that's the big mistake that keeps you asleep, is thinking that you're awake when in fact you're asleep. So you want to start from the recognition, or the acceptance, just the acceptance, even if you don't yet recognize it, just the acceptance that you are asleep most of the time. And then you need to see what it is that keeps you asleep. This is the practical application. So it's, how do you get from 100% asleep to 100% awake? One step at a time. You have to wake up a little bit. So wake up now. Right now, let the pain of your life, let the frustration of your ceaseless failure to achieve your true desire, let that wake you up in this moment, just right now. So what does that mean? How do you know you're awake? Because you actually are seeing in this moment. You'll know you're awake because you're actually seeing what's happening. You may not like it. In fact, you shouldn't like it, because it's not good news at all, but it's very good news that you are awake to it. So see, this is the big mistake. And this is why we're wanting to see how it is that we continue to remain asleep, because that's a process. Something is happening that hypnotizes us. And it's essential that we recognize it, because as long as you're asleep, you can just keep on hoping and praying. I hope tomorrow will be different. I hope tomorrow will be different. Please, God, let tomorrow be different. But when you say, please, God, let tomorrow be different, God says, that's completely up to you. I want tomorrow to be different. Really, that's my nature. My nature is what is possible. But I can only enter where you allow it. And if you deny it, then that higher truth cannot enter. That light remains that light remains on the other side of the blinders, so that all that you can see is shadow. And so in order for that to enter, you have to both pray. I'm a very big advocate of prayer. I highly recommend it. The correct prayer is, and you don't have to say God, you can, whatever word works for you, I don't care. Buddha, Jesus, spirit, life, whatever, I don't care. But somehow you have to open yourself to that which is higher that which is truth. You have to open yourself to that, and you have to recognize that there's something that you have been doing, albeit unconsciously, that's been isolating you and cutting you off from that truth. So the prayer is essential, something along the lines of, God, help me to get out of my own way. Help me to cease to keep these blinders on. Help me finally take the burden from me so that I can no longer take it up. And you have to have that sincere prayer born out of the realization, as I pointed out earlier, that everything that you've been doing up to now has not worked. It has not given you what you're truly longing for, and you long for it because it is the truth. It's not just some pie in the sky fancy. It's not just some nice to have option. It is essential. It's the only reason you're here. There's nothing else. Nothing. You have to see that. But born out of that true seeing, you have to pray sincerely. And then, and this is important because this is the mistake most of us make. So please hear this, because many of us will let me rephrase it. Very few people will ever do the first two steps there. Very few people will ever recognize in truth that they don't have the ability themselves to lift themselves up. Remember, I've used to say this quite a lot. It's been a while since I said it, but you cannot lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. It's a total fallacy. It's an impossibility. And we have to see the truth of that. So that we have to recognize all of my efforts have been in vain. All of my efforts have not worked to lift me above the mess of my own conditioning. What can lift me above that conditioning? It's something that's higher, and we will call that truth. Okay. So that truth, now, of course, I've already let the cat out of the bag. You are that, but you don't know that. You don't recognize that. And in order to really recognize that, I'm proposing you have to let go of what is false that you're clinging to. And so you have to see all the pretense, all the ways that you still hold out hope, and you have to see that they won't ever work. So that's the first thing that most people will never do. But you can do that. In fact, most people here, I will suggest you've done this repeatedly. At least I've encouraged you to do it many times. So I certainly hope you've done it many times. And then step two is to have to be humble enough to say a sincere prayer, to recognize that you can't do it, that you've made a mess of it, and that every time you try to fix it, you just muck it up. The best you can achieve on your own is to rearrange the furniture, which doesn't do anything to address the total the nature of that furniture in the first place. That furniture is no good. You don't like the furniture. It's rotting. It stinks. So you need to, first of all, recognize that you have not succeeded. You don't yet presently possess the knowledge or that higher power that can do this for you. So that's to recognize that as essential. And then you have to pray sincerely, to be humble enough to open to that which is higher, that truth, so that it can enter your life. And I will propose that anybody here, you've done this also, because I have encouraged you in many ways, whether you recognize it or not, to do this many times. But now, see, here's where it falls apart for almost everybody. And I recognize this because this is the biggest, I will say, this is the biggest struggle, the biggest challenge, the biggest difficulty for humanity, because even those few who pass through the first two gates, which is a minority among humans, but even those who pass through those gates, they almost universally fail to pass through the third gate. And it's such a It really is a tragedy, because it takes so much to pass through those first two gates. But you pass through the first two gates and you think, oh, I've done it all. And most people stop there because they say, I've done it. I worked the system. A lot of people, they go through 12-step programs and they get some benefits from 12-step programs, but then they say, well, I worked the system and this is the best that I can hope for. I got through the first two gates, but that's it. Well, you've got to understand that there's a third gate, and this third gate is the one that it will likely remain with you for the rest of this lifetime. You'll be passing through this gate for a long, long time, many, many times. And that sounds like terrible news on this side of the gate, but you'll see it's such good news once you start passing through the gate, because it is this gate holds a magnificent power of transformation, and it changes hell into heaven. Okay, so I've hopefully piqued your curiosity. You're saying, what is this third gate? Just tell us already so we can do it. The third gate is that you must then allow that higher truth to enter and to take root here. And how does it do that? In exactly the opposite way of your way. And this is why almost everybody fails, because we have expectations. We come into it and we say, well, I've already correctly identified my problem. I already know that what I'm experiencing is a problem, and I know what that problem is called, and we've got the names for it, and I'm able to identify it correctly. And the solution will be when that stops, when that goes away, and when that's replaced by this other thing that I think I already know, which is the good thing. So we've already got it figured out incorrectly. And because we cling to that, we fail to recognize when truth is entering and taking and offering to take root. And instead, what we do is we uproot it. So we actually work against ourselves. So what does this mean in practical terms? Okay, so let's do it right now so that you can see how it actually works, because it's not hard. It's really not hard. So first of all, please just notice that you have to tell the truth, that everything that you know and everything you've done with your very greatest efforts up to this moment have not yielded the true satisfaction that is an absolute requirement for you in this life. You have to see that now. So please just see it. See that you've not yet achieved what it is that is your aim. Okay, and that you've had many theories about it. You've tried many things, and some of them seem to give temporary results, but actually nothing has really yielded the truthful outcome that is what you need. Okay, so you have to see that, because as long as you don't see that, you'll cling to all the things that don't work. So see that right now, and you don't have to agonize over it. Just tell the truth. You just have to see it's true. It's absolutely true. In my private moments, I'm not satisfied. I feel lacking. Or here's another way of seeing it, in case you have any kind of struggle seeing it, is to see that no matter what you might have achieved, that it's fragile. So it's true that you've made progress. I understand that. You've made progress in your life. Your life is better than it used to be in many respects. That's fine. But you have to see how fragile it is, because it can easily be undermined. All it takes is the tiniest little thing. Anybody can upset you. Anything, any little thing. It's also fragile because you've got it all worked out and organized, but it's like a house of cards. And you say, oh, look, it seems to be working. I'm getting higher and higher. Yes, but now I come along and I do this little, and it all comes tumbling down, doesn't it? And now you think that's bad news, but this is very good news, because you need to see it, because only when you see this are you going to be open to something greater than that. As long as you cling to that, then you're going to say, I hold the power. I can do it on my own. And as long as you keep trying to do it on your own, the best you can hope for is a house of cards that maybe's been got some tape and glue, reinforced, but it's still fragile. It's still going to come tumbling down. And underneath that, what is generated is tremendous anxiety, because you know that your whole life is fraudulent. And so you can see, and you start to see it in everybody else. So all of these comparisons that we do day in and day out, where we're looking around, we say, they seem to have it together, they seem to be happy. When you see this fundamental truth for yourself, just such a simple thing to see that it's all, you've only constructed a house of cards, then you see it in everybody else, with very, very rare exception. There are some people, and this is very encouraging, good news to us, there are some people who have discovered the truth and prayed to it and allowed it to enter their lives, and then they accepted it, and they continue to accept it no matter what, because they know that that's the truth and that everything else is not the truth. So they hold fast to what is real, what is true. But so that's very good news to see those people, but the vast majority are fakers. They're just faking it, the same as you are doing. Because you know that when you go out in public and somebody says, how are you doing? You smile and say, I'm fine, thank you. But you're anything but fine, and so are they. And so is 99.9% of the population, more even than that. So if it's even 1 in a million that are truly awake, it could be that many, but it's not more than that. But those numbers can increase, and it's possible for you. In fact, it's essential, and it's your birthright, as I often point out. So don't dismay just because it seems distant. It is yours, and it can be yours, and you can claim it, and that's what this is about. So don't ever dismay. Okay. Because the fact that you're here, the fact that you can hear this, it is proof, absolute proof positive. I assure you of this, that this is for you and that you can claim it, and it is guaranteed. All you have to do is hear it, accept it, and take the steps sincerely, consistently. So now, second step in this is that you have to actually be willing to be humble and to pray to something higher and greater than what you have accepted as yourself up to now. Now, this is to see that everything that you've thought of as yourself, all of those schemes and all of the house of cards, that's all false. It's transient. At the very least, we can see that it's transient. It comes and it goes. And it's conditional because it depends upon how you're feeling and what day it is and who said what and who looked at you which way and what bills you have to pay and so forth and so on. So that's why the first step is so important, to see that on your own, you're not going to be able to do this. But the help is available. Truth is available, and it is always available unconditionally. That all you have to do is ask. Okay, so that's what this second step is. Just simply ask. Just be willing to ask right now, whatever. And you don't have to know what that truth is. You don't have to know where it is. You don't have to know you don't have to have a name for it or a face for it. You don't have to be religious. None of that's required. All that's required is the humility to admit that you don't know. And that if there's any chance whatsoever, that it must come from something greater. So be willing to be humble and just to sincerely pray, wherever and whatever you are, truth, please come to me. Please enter my life, shine that light of truth so that all of the false can be cleared away and I can live the truth that is my birthright, so that I can live in peace and love. And you have to just pray that sincerely. That's all. So So do that now. And notice that when you do that, there's a feeling. There's a feeling, there's an opening. And you should feel relieved, really. You want to feel relieved that you don't have to do it anymore. So now this third step is that now you just see whatever it is that's here. This right now, see, just whatever this is, it is the answer to that prayer. So now notice how you reject it. This is very, very important because remember, this is the third gate that most people, even those who've passed through the first two gates, most people will fail here because of ignorance. They don't understand that there is a law in life. It is a guarantee that every prayer is answered. So let me rephrase that. Every sincere prayer is answered. So the moment you have a sincere prayer, that prayer is instantly answered. There's no time, does not apply. It's instantly answered. So now notice what you do to close down or shut down or dismiss or keep away the answer to your prayer. Your prayer, please enter my life, clear away the false, open me and uplift me to the truth of who I am and my birthright so that I can live in love and peace. And this is instantly answered right now. So whatever is here, whether you like it or don't like it, is the answer to that prayer. And very importantly, you have prayed, it's done forever. But now it's up to you to honor that and receive the answer eternally. Okay, now I know you say, well, I don't get it. Doesn't seem, I thought you said it was practical. It doesn't seem practical. Hold on, I promise you I'm going to do my best to make this crystal clear to you because it's essential that you can see how this is very, very practical because you must put it into practice. So now what we want to see is what is it that we do? See, we've opened the floodgates to truth. That's what we've just done. First, you have to see that there is a gate and that it's closed, and that's because of the attachment to the false, because of the pride in thinking I can do this. So you have to see that a gate even exists. Then you have to be willing to open the gate and say, I can't do it on my own. Please enter. Now you've opened it, or rather, you said the passcode and it was open for you. So it is open, but due to your habit, because you still believe that you can correctly identify truth, you still believe that you know what is true and what is false, despite the fact that you just admitted that you don't. You see, this is what happens. We see it, we pray, and then we go right back into, yeah, but I know how I'm the judge, and I'm a good judge. I know what is good and what's bad. Now you're going to say, I know you're going to say, well, how this sounds just like wishy-washy nonsense, because if I can't know what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong, then what hope is there? There's no hope whatsoever so long as you cling to the false delusion that you're able to judge. Because we have to go back to step one again. The instant you start judging and believing the judgment, you have to go back to step one, because you have to see all my judgments have gotten me into this big mess. every time that I believe that I know what is good and bad, right and wrong, desirable and undesirable, and I try to navigate my life based upon that, all I do is rearrange the furniture and keep myself stuck in misery, dissatisfaction, pain, suffering, and despair. Isn't, it's like, I think Thoreau was the one who wrote, something along the lines of the majority of men live their lives in quiet desperation. That's what I'm saying to you. It's not even the majority, it's almost everyone, but you don't have to be one of them. But you guarantee that you will continue to be one of them so long as you keep shutting that gate. So you can, it's a funny thing. You don't have the ability to open the gate, but you sure can close it. So you have to keep yourself from closing it, and then it remains open. You must see that it's there. You must pray to have it opened. It's absolutely guaranteed that it's open instantaneously, the instant that you pray sincerely. But then you must not close it. And this is the practical application of step 3 in the correct recognition of this third gateway. Because the third gateway is that truth is being delivered. Truth is shining through, and you must receive it. So here you are, now you're in a classroom. You're in the classroom of truth. And it's actually your life. Remember I said that there's no mistake. Your life as it is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now you think that it's not perfect, right? You think that's easy for you to say, Joy. You think it's perfect because your life is perfect. I assure you, I have thoughts, they're deluded thoughts, but I also have thoughts that say that it's not perfect, but I know well enough to recognize the truth. And that's an enormous blessing. So I'm wanting to share that with you because this is so, so important. So don't make exceptions for yourself and think that you are special somehow, that this doesn't apply to you. This is a universal truth. Absolutely universal. I don't care, man, woman, non-gender binary, anywhere. You could be living in Antarctica, you could be living on top of a mountain, you could be in Death Valley, you could be, I don't care, rich, poor, you could be the smartest person, the richest person, the poorest person, the stupidest person. This is a universal truth, what I'm describing. So it absolutely applies to you. And if you make the mistake of thinking that that you're an exception, then you're guaranteeing suffering for yourself. So don't make that mistake. Now, the truth is entering your life now. Don't close the gate. And you must see what I'm pointing to when I say that your life is absolutely perfect, because your life exactly as it is before it was hell, because the gate was closed and you were trying to do it on your own. And so it seemed chaotic, pointless, cruel, right? Didn't it? I mean, it's like, why is all this happening? Why is it happening to me? Poor me, I can't get a lucky break. Just seems like I'm trying so hard, but everything just keeps working against me. And what you're discovering today, what I'm sharing with you, is the big secret. I promise you, this is the big secret. If you want just one thing, if you do nothing else, honestly, if you did nothing else, just this one thing, this is the biggest thing that will help. Because what you need to see is that nothing is a mistake, that your life is absolutely perfect, and you have prayed, so it's being answered, and you now get to see you are getting the most intimate, personally tailored lesson possible, direct from source, direct from the supreme reality. There is no higher authority. There is nothing greater, and you are blessed to receive personal lessons, private personal lessons directly from the Supreme Source. And then you got to see how you throw that away, how you reject it. So here you're getting there's no greater blessing. It's happening to you, but you need to see all the ways you reject it. So the ways that you reject it are many. I mean, there's so many ways, and I can't describe all of them to you, but you get to discover them. And as I said, you are receiving the lessons directly from the Supreme Source. I couldn't possibly do this for you, but you are receiving the lessons directly from that Supreme Source. And no one and nothing knows you, not even you know yourself as well as this does. Okay, so truth knows you better than you know yourself. And this is what you have to, this is the key to remembering so that you don't shut the gate, is that truth knows me better than I know myself. And I did pray, and the prayer is being answered. So I will remain humble, and I will accept these lessons, and I will accept them not only in humility, but with wakeful intelligence. So how do you have wakeful intelligence and receive the lessons from wakeful intelligence? You simply remember that this is the answer to my prayer. What did I pray for? That truth will enter my life and show me and uplift me so that I can live the peace, love, and abundance that is my birthright. So that you have to know that that's what's happening. Now, you're going to say, but I don't like it, or at least I don't like it some of the time. And so that's the time, more than any other time, that you must remember this. Because what's being shown to you, you think what's being shown to you is, in those circumstances, in those situations, you think what's being shown to you is some kind of bad thing that you now need to deal with. That's the habit, is we say, oh no, here we go again. I can't believe, woe is me, poor me. Why is this happening to me? Instead of asking those questions, just tell the truth about what you actually already know in your heart. And I'm just giving it to you so you can just tell the truth of it, which is, you want to know why is it being done to you? You already have that answer. And the answer is because it is the answer to your prayer. You said, please God, show me, enter my life, uplift me so that I can live the truth that is my birthright. And that answer that prayer is being answered right now. And in the moment in which you're on the precipice of rejecting it, saying, poor me, I can't believe this is happening to me. It's not fair. I can't get a lucky break. You must remember, pause. What is it I'm supposed to remember? Oh yes, I'm supposed to remember that this is the answer to my prayer. So you have to flip it all on its head. What you think you know is it's the opposite of what you think you know. When you think what you think is good is bad, and what you think is bad is good. Because when you're chasing after what you think is good, all you're doing is chasing after something that you think is going to give you something that you want. But you should have enough. Remember, I said you're supposed to do this with wakeful intelligence. So when you see that you're chasing after something, you need to pause and recognize, oh, what I think is good is bad, and what I think is bad is good. So I'm chasing after something that I think is good. I'm chasing after it because I think it's going to give me what I want and need. But wait a second, haven't I done this before? And what was the result? Oh yeah. Even if I get the thing, I end up come up empty-handed ultimately. Or worse than that, I'm burdened now because now I got the thing, but it wasn't what I wanted. And what I think is bad is good. So what does that mean? It means that, does this mean that you should seek to ruin your life? Does this mean you should seek to create badness? Do you think that you should seek to create self-harm? No, absolutely not. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying, despite all your best efforts, these things happen, don't they? So when these things happen, instead of falling back into the old dysfunctional habit of saying, woe is me, I can't believe this is happening, instead you must pause and you must remember, what I think is bad is good. So what's happening is that my prayer is being answered. And what is the wakeful and intelligent way to receive this divine lesson? How can I do that? Well, it's kind of obvious, isn't it? You just say, you be humble and say, I'm here to learn. What can I learn from this? And I'll tell you, the biggest thing that you can learn is to see, and this is something I've often pointed out, that all of when you say that it's bad, when you think something's bad, right away, the habit is to leap to some story about it and say, oh, it's because of these things. It's because of these circumstances. And everybody agrees that it's bad. Everybody agrees it's harmful. Everybody agrees that this is damaging. And look at me, I'm being exposed to this, to this abuse or to this poverty or to this loss or to this pain or to these harmful circumstances or to whatever. And you must see that story is false, and that story is only in service of the false, and it will just keep you stuck in that. So then you must wake up and reclaim your natural intelligence and see, okay, how can I learn from this? What is there that I can learn? And the number one thing you can learn is to see that what I'm perceiving as the problem is what I'm doing, what I'm clinging to, what I'm identifying with, what I'm believing. And I can cease doing that. I can turn that over. I can surrender that. How can I surrender that? Well, you have to see how you do the clinging. So you just notice where how you cling physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. You just notice that. And in the noticing, don't try to compensate or overcome it through compensatory action, because that will just mire you in it deeper. Don't argue with it. Don't fight with it. Don't resist it. Don't deny it. Don't do any of those things. Just see how you do it. And in the seeing of how you do it, bit by bit, you'll cease to do it. Why? Because it's the only intelligent thing to do. Of course, until you fully see it, you can't stop doing it because you don't know how you're doing it. And this is the point at which, if people even get this far into the third gateway, they fail here because they say, well, I can't see it. It's not clear to me. It's not working. I guess I can't. But you must. So this is why if you get stuck at any point, go back to the beginning and recognize that your ways are absolute failures. You're not going to be able to, if you just keep on waiting it out and all of your various strategies, well, I'll just try harder tomorrow. I'll just wait and see. Maybe, maybe a miracle will happen in the future. Maybe once I do this thing, maybe once I go to that thing, maybe once I have that treatment, maybe once I do, this therapy, maybe once I do whatever. Remember, I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't take any actions. Those things may be appropriate or good or not. That's completely secondary. So this is not a prescription for what you should or shouldn't do in terms of actions. It's about what precedes all the actions. And what this will do for you is everything. But even in terms of your actions, what it will do is it will relieve you from the compulsive negative actions that will just make things worse for you, because you rush headlong, and we all do, from one stupid thing to another stupid thing, because we don't do this thing that I'm talking about now. So this one thing that I'm talking about will save you so much trouble, and you must apply it all the time. And you say, but that sounds so hard. All the time? Gosh, I need to just rest sometimes. But see, the rest isn't even rest. What I'm talking about is true rest, because all that other stuff is just what you call rest is just going unconscious between other moments of unconscious frenzy. And I'm proposing actually be awake. And when you're awake, you see all of the unnecessary spinning of your wheels and flailing and hurting yourself, all the self-harm that comes out of it, all the violence. And you can stop doing that. But the way to stop doing that is you have to be aware, you have to be awake, and you have to be willing to learn. So you're going to have, when you honestly do what I'm suggesting, you're not going to like much of the experience, especially at first. You're going to say, oh my goodness, this is horrible. I feel so bad. And I'm going to say, that's good. Now, please don't misunderstand. Remember, I'm not saying you should seek out bad, what you consider to be bad. No, that's stupid. Don't do that. But you just notice how much of it comes along without you even trying. For all of that, it's essential, it's paramount that you remember that what you think is bad is good, because you have prayed sincerely and that prayer is being answered. So what's being shown to you are the lessons showing you, here is how you have been in the habit of harming yourself. Here's how you keep yourself stuck. You start to see all the ways in which you believe so many false things. It's just one false thing on top of another, and they just stack. There's like, oh, I can't believe I just did that stupid thing. Oh my God, I can't believe I should have known better than to say that. Now I've really made a mess of it. I'm so stupid. I'll never make it. Yada, 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 yada. When will that stop? And the answer to when it will stop is the moment that you're willing to stop. And the moment you're willing to stop, notice I didn't say that you're going to start feeling the way that you think you want to feel. You're going to be aware of you're going to become aware of exactly how you're doing this pain. That's why what you think is bad is good. Not because it's great to feel bad, but because when you stop running from it, when you stop denying it, when you stop trying to patch it up, when you stop trying all these other things, then you're finally face to face with it. Then you finally are humble enough to learn the lesson that's being shown to you in answer to your prayer, your heartfelt prayer. So you need to have the wisdom and the courage to receive that. And the truth is not always well, let's put it this way. The truth has zero tolerance for self-harm. So it's going to prioritize revealing to you all the self-harm. And you're going to say, oh, but I feel so bad. Why is this happening to me? And you need to remember, what I feel bad because of self-harm. And my prayer is being answered because my self-harm is being revealed to me. So then you're going to say, but I'm powerless to do anything. You don't need to do anything other than to be awake and intelligent and just receive the lesson. That's it. Because what's being pointed out is what you're already doing. And when you start to really see what you're already doing, then you stop doing it. It's a habit. It's a compulsive habit. And so you'll experience all kinds of secondary downstream fear and anxiety about not doing it. So you have to be aware of that too. So if you're in the habit of self-shame, for example, and who's not, then you when this is shown to you and you see, oh, there I'm doing it. Here's this negative voice, and it's saying you're, a good for nothing, lousy so and so, and you believe it. In that moment, you're being shown that when you accept that you're hurting yourself. But then all that's required is to see that and then just simply stop, because you're being blessed. You're being shown, oh, I'm just believing that, but it's not true. It's just a thought. It's just some voice. It's just some habit, a repetition. It's just some impression in the nervous system. And I was mistaking that for myself. And then I went into all these weird convolutions trying to fight with it and reject it and deny it and keep it away and appease it and all these other things. But actually, all of that just keeps it stuck because it keeps powering it. So then you'll see it, you'll recognize that you can not do that. And then what's going to happen is there'll be secondary anxiety that will arise because you'll say, but I have to do it because it's so uncomfortable not doing. Yes. And then you just see that too, because then you just be with that discomfort and accept and know that this too is an answer to your prayer, and what's being revealed to you is exactly how you can live in peace. And that is to be yourself. So the one who is aware, that's you. All that you're aware of, not you. It's that simple. So if you're aware of something, then it's not you. So rest in that which you are, which is eternal, which is already eternal peace. And all of the feelings and sensations and thoughts and memories and images and so forth, they will come and they will go. They always have. It's not likely to change. So it's not like it's a big surprise. But the habit of identifying with those things, at first it's a strong habit. So there are many layers to that. If you have the wrong expectation, you say, well, I passed through the third gateway, I should be happy with everything. Well, then you guess what? You just went back through it. You went back the other way. Start over again. But nothing is truly lost when you accept this path. Like I said, it is such a blessing to receive this knowledge, to have access to this, because it's rare. It really is rare. You see, most people will fake it for the rest of their lives and they'll die paupers, no matter how much they could be the most, the richest, most beloved, most popular, most whatever, and they will die absolute paupers in the spiritual sense, because they will have completely failed to fulfill the purpose of their life, which is to know who they are. But you are a rare person in this regard, because you actually have true knowledge, and you have a practical, very supremely practical way to put it into practice. And the last thing I'll say about this is the proper way to see this is to be encouraged, really, because otherwise the incorrect way is to feel overwhelmed and say, oh, but it sounds so hard and it's forever and there's no payoff. And that's incorrect. Please don't allow yourself to be sucked into that lie. That's just another one of those voices trying to keep you stuck in the status quo. But you must be bold and claim your birthright, because this culture, this humanity, this world is not going to hand it to you. So you must forget about that. That is not going to happen. You must claim it. You must you must go against the tide, so to speak. You have to really be, and that seems a little bit contradictory because this is relax into health, wealth, and happiness. But what I'm saying is, actually, you're struggling when you are caught up in the false ways of this world. But when you truly start to relax into the receiving of the answer of your prayer, your sincere prayer, then it's all done for you. But your only task is that you must continue to relax. And along the way, all of your conditioning, which is the tide I'm talking about, is going to say, what are you doing? You're a fool. You're gonna lose everything that's so important to you. But if you allow yourself to be hypnotized, you'll say, oh, it's true. I'm going to lose everything that's important to me. I'll look at all these things I'm going to lose. But you have to tell the truth, which is all those things that I could lose, they can't give me the fulfillment that I must have. So that's why it's a bold step, and you must be courageous because you know that it's the truth. You know that the only reason that you are here is to fulfill that purpose, to really gain that true satisfaction. And that comes by holding fast to the truth. So that's the most essential distilled message. So I hope that that is clear to you. I hope that you see the practical value of it. And I hope that you are encouraged, because it really sincerely, honestly is good news. You know, you must know, look at it like a game, and you'll be much better off. You have to see that, but it's a game where as long as you just allow it, allow the truth, the outcome is guaranteed. So you just you just stay true to that and know that all is well, all is taken care of. There, you know, like you're on a ship that is certain to arrive at port, and you must just rest. You're not the captain. Don't do anything like that. Trust and know that it is a certain thing. You will arrive at that port, and so you just relax and accept this journey and know that there will be storms, there will be waves, there will be ups and downs, but you are, and you, there, everybody around you will be, you know, afraid. They're saying, oh, it's the end. Oh, we're going to go overboard. Oh, the ship's going to sink. Oh, it's the worst storm ever. And you must be true to that, to the truth. And you know, I am, my ship is absolutely guaranteed to arrive at port, and it is the captain is the captain with a capital C. It's not like a person per se, but it is life itself. It is the supreme truth, and all I have to do is trust in that, because that's the very same power that is all of this. I didn't create this body. I didn't create this mind. I didn't create this lifetime. I didn't create this world. I didn't create any of this. When I say I mean the one who's thinking, the identification, all of that false self. It didn't do anything. It itself has been created. So it's just another wave. So, but you must remain, the real you must remain true to that which is taking care of it all. And when you know that and trust in that and stay true to that and follow through in the practical way, using just the simple guidelines provided, you know that every moment and every single thing in your life is here for your good, to deliver you to port safely. All you have to do is accept it. And of course, your mind's going to protest and say, but this couldn't be it. This must be the exception. Oh, sure, all those other things were okay, and life lessons and divine and so forth. But this one's the big exception. Sorry, it's not. I'm not even sorry. I'm like, good news, it's not. Good news, this too is taken care of, and this too is for your greatest good. You must just simply accept it. So when you apply these simple, practical guides, you are guaranteed the greatest success. And the even greater news is that the journey itself despite whatever might be the appearances, the journey itself can be delightful as well. And so remember that. Don't, when you start to dismay or feel overwhelmed, or because you think, oh, but this sounds so hard. No, 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 no. Please, you must understand and remember that the truth, it's like you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. It's not what it's just that your perception is distorted. And so let the truth cleanse the lens of perception so that you can see truly. And so when you're afraid, when you're wanting to make an exception, when you're wanting to again grab the control of the ship and get it, remember that way is misery. That's not for me. I'm here because I'm here to fulfill the purpose of my life, and that is a good purpose, and it is delightful. And the journey itself can be delightful when it's properly understood, regardless of the appearance, regardless of the storms. And in fact, all of the storms themselves become, when you correctly understand them, they're the greatest gift, because they're the greatest lessons that will liberate you the most. So I hope that you take that to heart. I hope that it really sinks in and makes sense to you, and I hope that you'll put it into practice. So thank you for your courage, and thank you for tuning in. So that's it for today. Blessings to you all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. And remember, next week there will be no meetings, but we'll resume the week of the 23rd. Okay. Thank you all. Bye for now.